All right, we are live. This is Transparency and Merit, Self Defense and Reality. You know, for years I had a movie vision of self defense. If you just stand up for yourself, that's all you need to do. And in reality, that's not always a good idea. And even being angry is not enough to defeat an opponent. And this goes for physical self defense and for even argument and your cause. If you have a cause, self defense, you can be angry and feel righteous about your cause. That doesn't mean that you are necessarily going to win. And the one thing that Joe has said that has meant a lot to me is that the pen is mightier than the sword. And when you just have the sword, you will be defeated by the pen. In the end, you'll be defeated by the sword as well. But the pen is wielded by the sword. And that's a reality that I've learned from Joe that I agree with. Other things maybe haven't struck me, but that's a reality. And also, strive to be aware of your surroundings. And when you do get into a confrontation, I think the best thing to do is to know where this is going. Is this going to anywhere productive? What do you gain to win? Joey, go ahead.
Well, in it to win it, I guess you could say. You know,
But even being in it to win it isn't necessarily enough to win. Whether it is a physical confrontation or a a cause that you're involved in,
Mhm.
or a court case or something like that. Sometimes your anger and the righteousness of your cause is not enough to win. And just because you feel righteous, other people don't feel the same way that you do. And you have to know a lot of times how another person is going to respond to you and some of the things that they'll do. And a lot of times, if you are in a debate and you're in an audience, I've always heard it's not a good idea to try to convince him. It's a better idea to try to convince the audience that is listening to the debate. It's better to sway them because a person that is debating you often is not going to come to your side. It's better to basically expose them for who they are than try to win them over in a lot of ways.
and I think there's a lot of that going on now, especially with as more information comes out about uh, what's beneficial and what's not. And there's a call for forgiveness or amnesty for people, and uh, I would even say doctors uh, who may have been maybe at fault for something. Who knows? But this is what I'm, if I'm to understand correctly, this is kind of where it's at. Um, People are not, if they've been misled, I don't think they're too happy about the idea of forgiveness. Um, Amnesty names and calls out uh, those people who may have done wrong, but on the other hand, they are forgiven. And so some people are against that. If maybe uh, people are found to have done something wrong, they think they should be paying the penalty for it. What do you think? Am I making? Do you know exactly what I'm referring to? Or?
I think this shows that people who are prone to anger are not to be trusted. And a lot of the people I think that individuals are angry with are the people who are very prone to anger and would not listen to the other side of the argument.
Well, that was a continual. That's been a frustration because March 11th, 2020, uh, I had my point of view has not changed since then, and I was I, a lot happened since that day. A lot happened, and for the first time in my life, certainly my life, I was blindsided. I was attacked and and thrown to the ground. And it was a very interesting situation. The man ran away and into a crowd of people. So there was no justice there. In fact, the people who witnessed it, when I asked them if they had seen anything, they protected this man. They said they had not seen anything. It's pretty crazy setup. But nothing like that happened to me before 2020.
Yeah, things are getting really kind of strange out there, and you don't know what faction this person was with, but again, fanaticism and people who think that they have the right to hurt someone without cause, and it was kind of a really a cheap shot that happened to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are times when things do come out of left field, but I would say just about every physical confrontation that I ever got into, I could have absolutely avoided. And there were times, where man, I could have killed, I could have killed a guy. I was a lot bigger than him, and I guess he thought that he had enough skill that he could defeat me, and I was ready to just like not, like I was knocking him all over the place, and I wanted to just, like give him a good right hook, and someone said, "Stop, that's enough." Like, hey, you could kill somebody doing that, and I'm glad I didn't knock him out because I could have really injured this person, and he might have been a minor at the time. All I know is we started a beef, and I guess he felt that he could, like I said, that he was a tough kid, that he could just defeat me on bravado. But I was about 40 pounds bigger, and he did have some skill, but this time size and strength were the deciding factor. And
You beat his ass?
yes, I did, and I absolutely, it's something I regret, because again, if I had it to do over again, I would have just avoided it, walked away, because it could have gone really bad. And like I said, if you kill somebody over something stupid, and it was over ego and pride,
Right.
and again, something I could have avoided. And I'm finding that also online, and it's hard because I feel to a degree, and it's part of my ego, that I've been red pilled with some kind of truth. And I'm thinking that, I could, and a lot of times it's really insulting what I'm saying to them. And, I'm not being diplomatic. I'm being the opposite of what I want to be. Even though I think that I'm in the right, I'm doing it, in my opinion, the wrong way. I'm fighting the wrong way. And, that's the one thing that you kind of learn, like in self-defense. The first thing of self-defense you learn is go in the other direction. If you look to see how hostile the person is and go in the other direction. And that's also what I should see online. If someone says something that's hyperbolic and foolish, why engage? You're not necessarily going to gain anything, you know? So my point is, and the same thing on Discord too. I get really angry and really upset. And it's like, for what? These people are primarily strangers and they don't want to be diplomatic. So what's the point? What do I gain out of that? And that's my whole thing with self-defense is like, I'm, and this is more online, like, don't engage with the person if they are, if they're fanatical and they're also, into their beliefs. And I'm into my beliefs too, but I want to try, again, for me, hopefully my goal is to have some form of mutual respect with people, even if I disagree with them. And that's kind of what I want to find, because I do like vigorous debate. I like discussion. And again, that's what I kind of want to find. And I don't want to find it in a hostile manner. I want to find, people maybe even disagreeing, but not being disagreeable. Because again, I gain nothing from fighting someone. I don't know if you have anything to say on that. And there are times when you have to debate and you have
Well,
to say things that are harsh.
yeah, and it's also an ego check entirely, and this is a lot of people that are stuck in their ego centric worlds. When their egos are attacked, uh, they feel, this is a part of the brain, the cerebral cortex. So when you get angry, uh, anger, it affects the cerebral cortex, and we go into fight or flight mode. And depending on how you cope with anger, so knowing the biology is really important with that. And I always I taught anger management for quite a while, and I would do something called the physiology of anger.
Yeah.
And so I would have, someone would rate, on a scale that I created, what anger does to them, what happens when they feel anger from different things. Maybe it's, you know, maybe he was expecting $4 of change at 7-Eleven, and the guy accidentally gave him $3 back. Or just I had them write a list of all the annoyances and things that may or may not have angered them. And invariably, we talk a lot about what color do you see when you get angry? Do you see a color when you get angry?
No, I don't. But I
But if,
think,
but if you were to identify a color with that anger, what would you use?
probably red. But I wanted to say, I think there's a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
that they go online and maybe they look for people to argue with, and they just get angry. And that's, to a degree, when I see someone that I see as a different point of view, that I feel is, to a degree, kind of just so foolish and so out there and kind of hyperbolic. I get, there's a point in me like, how can you believe in such foolishness? But then I realize I'm arguing with a fool. What am I doing? Why am I? And I think that there's a lot of people online that, they think that they know reality, and when they hear something that goes against what they believe is reality, they get really angry. And I think a lot of the internet
Mhm.
is based on maybe what we would call rage porn. You know, you
Well,
hear
yeah.
you, you, you hear things that make you upset and angry. But I
Well,
think
the biggest thing you can do in a world full of anger and it's a twisted reality in a lot of ways. And the one thing that you can control is your anger, fortunately. So not you. I don't mean you specifically. I just mean in general. It's it's something everybody has the potential to own and to manage. Uh, and you know, knowing what it's doing to your body and how to address it properly always helps. But you know what others do to make this a twisted reality, to spread misinformation, to protect horrible narratives. uh, I mean, how much of that realistically can you control? And are you set to change that? If you're set to change that, that's kind of a it's a kamikaze mission. I think it's like sometimes I think it's because one thing I like to do is to hear when people have opened their eyes to something that's visible right in front of our faces that's very wrong, and you've done that, and you should just take not just but you need to take pride in what you have to offer, and I speak in general terms. I'm trying not to point fingers, but like everybody has the opportunity to discover what it is they have to serve. It's I think people immediately default to the idea of, oh my God, I need to have what tools do I have? And they assess that what they're good at or where their strengths are and everything. And I don't think it's really about that. I think there's many ways to communicate and um, uh, people like you, for example, have a very important value to wherever the world's heading, and it's just basically a lifetime of experience that is either going to resonate hard with some people, or other people who have no idea, come from a totally different place, will also find interest and um, even the ability to share how their what their experiences are with you. uh, that's something that I think we should continue to strive for. I'm trying to do that too. Yeah, don't write if you can't relate is a good line. Um, and I just mean as far as creating shows and applying the research and work that both of us do. And um, why do we do it? I mean, I'm just naturally, I like communicating, and I don't have I don't watch news. I stopped social networking for the most part, unless I have something I want to say. um, I'll go in and post, but I don't do a whole lot of rummaging around for what's out there, because there is so much misrepresentation, and uh, there are people who are paid detractors, and I feel that there's nothing worse than time lost arguing over things of no consequence whatsoever. So, what is the consequence of an argument on a social network compared to maybe using that energy to write a letter to a congressman about something that you might feel is wrong, right? uh, that is where the I think that is where I know that's where I am. I just think that is an important tool that not enough people use, because when you email an administrator at you name it, Department of Education or the Department of Justice, or any organization, government related, an email, they have to respond to you. So get your questions prepared and send them to the right place. All of these people, on no matter where they fall on the spectrum of politics, or autism or whatever, these people, you know, I think I don't think they realize that there's really one source of our problems. Um, I mean, I shouldn't say that. But there's definitely the government's a good place to start if you have beef, if you have problems, and if you're going out and attacking people for no reason. Uh, I think there's, for those people that do that, I think there's a special place for them. I just feel like, uh, it's a whole lot of wasted efforts, not knowing the anonymity level on places like Twitter. Uh, it makes it really hard to get, uh, whatever the responses are. How could you count on that being a real response or a paid response? And they're out looking for people that are active and opinionated.
I'm also beginning to believe that a lot of times, what I observe, and I certainly could be wrong on this, but they always try to get like the angry person response.
Hmm.
But I don't necessarily know if that's the average person that believes that, who is angry. I always think of the angry leftist or even the angry right winger, and I don't know how necessarily true that is. And I'm always kind of, like one of the reasons I want to go out and talk to people is I'm just curious to know how reasonable or unreasonable human beings are. Because right now, social media shows us, shows America very divided. But are we divided? And are people that unreasonable? And do people have compassion for those who think differently than them? You know? And that's what I'm interested in doing, bridging the gap with reasonable people and being okay to disagree and at least understanding, coming a mutual understanding of a point of view. Even if you don't agree with it, you should be able to articulate their view and come back with, why you're for or against it.
Right.
And we don't necessarily see that. We see a lot of attacking and name calling and things like that. And that's not what I want to get to. I want to get to the
And that's
brass.
gotten, by the way, it's gotten worse. We've been doing this for over 10 years now. And when we first started, there were small groups of obvious trolls. And we did what we needed to do to try to avoid them. And they still found us. And, we went through that. And it was kind of fun for the time. But it was far from the censorship and things we see today. They kind of foreshadowed it, though. If the moment we started getting a little attention, they were on the scene, and I don't think that's any different now. I just think it'll look maybe a little different. I think definitely know there's people paid to to confuse and muddy the waters. So that's always something to kind of keep an eye out for.
And also, let's not forget there
Mhm.
are fanatics out there who believe that their cause is absolutely right. And, they believe that no matter how they act or how they behave, even in an unlawful manner, they have the right to do so because, whatever they're fighting, whether it, be racism, fascism, or anything like that. Uh, and if they define you as a fascist or they define you as a racist, are they even define you as a pro-vaxxer. I'm not, because there are fanatics on both sides who believe that they they have the right to force their will upon the people.
Indeed.
And again, my thing is, what I would like to see is, election, people explaining things in a full manner with respect. And I don't see a lot of that with the mainstream media and even within politicians. People, when they disagree, they become very disagreeable. And I
Hmm.
see, again, maybe just a part of society that is, like I said before, that can disagree without being necessarily disagreeable, and promote the best kind of peaceful society. And I don't know if you have anything else to add upon that. And I don't necessarily, know the best way to bring that along, but that's my main goal. I have views and I have beliefs, but I also like live in reality. And I remember, I'd read Ayn Rand and I was in the Republican Club, and a gentleman one time said to me, he said, "You're stuck on your views, but if you're in politics, you have to compromise." And no form of Ayn Rand would ever, like economic Ayn Rand would ever seek popular view. That's just the way it is. Now, you can decide to, continue to fight the law, and put that logic out there, or you can, to a degree, decide to be real and at least maybe promote those values and the values of Thomas Sowell. He said, the one thing that he said is, oftentimes there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. And, what kind of trade-offs do you want to have? Because sometimes you may have to give in to things that you find a little bit unreasonable, but, if there's give and take, then yeah. And other times you may have to flee because it's just too unreasonable for you to stay. It's unfortunate, and to a degree, Joe, I feel I'm living in somewhat unfortunate times because of the cancel culture, and also because of the threats to, economic livelihood that's been out there. And yeah, that's my whole kind of spiel. Is there anything else to say before I end this puppy, Joey?
There's a whole lot to say, but we don't have to do it today. So, all right. Um,
Yeah. You know what? We may go out and express
yes.
ourselves. We're looking to get new camera equipment, and we're looking to do other things. And like I said, we have ideas. At least I have ideas. And if you disagree, hopefully you'll disagree respectfully, and you'll give me a reason. You might even be able to change my mind. Joey, anything to say?
Um, I hope. I hope people. I hope people start picking up the conversation, and
Excellent.
both for both sides. I would like to have my conversation um, countered or whatever it is. If you agree, you disagree, um, bring your thoughts. Let us know what you think of Brian and his view, and same with me. And that's it.
Peaceful, yeah, I'll end on this. Respectful conversation to me promotes a more peaceful society. Anyway, this has been Brian and Joe with Transparency and Merit. Like, subscribe, and even leave a comment down below. Thank you for listening.
Cheers.